exclusive at the time, but they did eventually get added for survival. Now, if this was just horses, I probably would have put this lower, but I think the other additions here are pretty strong. Carpet and terracotta were added here, and it's always nice to see new colored blocks for building purposes. Name tags, and especially leads, are very important tools for dealing with mobs. They honestly might be the biggest things added in this update. Chests were also added to the Nether Fortress, which isn't a huge deal, but I've always appreciated this as it made them much more fun to explore. Finally, coal blocks and hay bales were added, which are mildly. Definitely would still classify this as a small update, but I think we are starting to get a larger amount of features that actually matter. 17.1.3. Not only have we made it to our final update without a name, this was also the first update that I started playing the game in. I was watching the game for a long time, but it wasn't until this update that I had the chance to play the game for myself. I distinctly remember Anyway, this update sort of expanded on what we saw in 1.2 by finally adding stairs and slabs for all the new wood types. Similarly, sandstone stairs were also added here. As for some fully new features, energies were added, which are some really valuable tools for keeping items safe in multiplayer and also just having more storage. Book and quills are also thrown in here, which are a fun feature, but nothing I'd call useful at the time. But the biggest features have to do with the game's structures. Both the Jungle Temple and Desert Temple were added, two of the game's most iconic locations. They both make the world feel so much more fun to explore and really help complete their respective biomes. To go with them, tripwire hooks and placeable cocoa beans were also added too. Cocoa beans were in the game before this, but you could only get them in dungeons. Huge day for cocoa beans. But what I would say is the biggest new feature of the update was the but it wasn't until 1.3 where they could actually use it. Now granted, the training at this point was not nearly at the level of today, enchantment books, but villager trading and all is still a really good addition. For expanding the event in the game for active features, I think we can 16 and 19. Here's another update that I would say is somewhat interesting in the community, as many people like to call it Caves and Cliffs Part 3. The main highlight of this update is of course the Ancient City, Warden, and Skulk stuff. This was all originally planned to be in 1.17, but had to be delayed. Honestly though, while I think the Ancient Cities are cool game design wise, I don't feel like they do enough for me to be very excited to go there. Swift Sneak is cool, but the other exclusive loot added for this structure just isn't that important in my opinion. I haven't ever felt the need to really risk my life going into an ancient city, so I don't think it's able to bring this version up super high. Maybe once they finally add whatever this portal is for, I can feel much more excited to go there. Honestly, what's really carrying this update this high is the stuff with the new mangrove swamp biome. Not only do I really like mangrove wood, but frogs are a great addition as they let us get frog lights, some of the best lighting blocks in the game. Mud also came with the biome, and it's also an extremely useful tool for builders. Some smaller features also include goat horns, chest boats, and the allay, although I think with copper golems, allays are really useless to use. In the lens of the modern Minecraft updates, yeah, this one is definitely weaker, but with every update as a whole considered, it's still added in. 15, 1.20, the trail system. Wild update right after the update soon afterwards, we have what many consider to be Caves and Cliffs Part 4. That's because archaeology is the main focal point of this update, and that was also originally supposed to be in 1.7. Well, regardless, I think archaeology is a fun mechanic and it's groundbreaking. It's a good way to add new functionality to several of the game's core structures, especially since many of them get their own set of unique pottery shards. This is most apparent in the new structure being the Deltarune. Now, I do think they are a little too rare for what they give. They're fun enough to go through, but since they're so hidden, it certainly makes this update feel more immersive. On top of the shards, armor trims were also added in this update, which again has more recently exclusive to the game's core structure. Although this did bring with it the after it's still very heavily. On a much more positive note, though, bamboo wood and cherry wood are great, along with the new main designs. All of these are extremely useful building blocks, even if the wood colors are a bit more niche. There were also two mods added here, the first of which being Sniffer. This is honestly a bit underwhelming with how good it is. Camels, on the other hand, are great because they let us play Camel Drop. Overall, not a ton of big stuff here, but I do like the updates to pool structures quite a bit and make them more fun to explore. 14, 1.8, the Bountiful update. In my head, I always mix this one up with 1.7, probably because both their names don't really describe the update much at all. Like, if you could guess that sunflowers were added in 1.8 based on the Bountiful update name, you're wrong because they were in 1.7. Anyway, what did this update actually add? First off, we got the new stone types, granite, diorite, and andesite, along with the polished stone. All three of these have been quite helpful for building, so I definitely prefer andesite. Ocean monuments, along with all of the blocks and mobs, are added in this update as well. Prismarine isn't my favorite thing to build with, but I like having the
Fuck off, dude. Like, actually piss off with that.
Still are extremely common forms of XP farm.
I definitely touched you there. Like, there's no way I
Plus,
didn't.
it was nice to see sponges finally get added to survival after being in the game for
Stupid fucking Titan spawns. Satan spawns, more like. How's it still too early?
Cobblestone walls! Okay, but in all seriousness, the main appeal of this update was the introduction of the Wither skeleton, Wither, seeing as the Wither is Minecraft's secondary boss, that's a pretty big addition. Witches, witch huts, and bats were also added in this update to fit with the spooky theme. Things in the world, but do that a bit. Inches, on the other hand, are much more useful, especially since 4.6 finally added enchantment books. That make it the right stuff here. These are one of the most essential tools in map making, and if they were part of the criteria here, 1.4 would be a lot higher. Looking at survival stuff,
Yeah, this is not great.
resources, and a fun plot. 12, 1.18, the Caves and Cliffs update, part 2. This is
How do I
often considered
still
by the
bump there?
community
Like,
to be the Caves and Cliffs
genuinely.
update, part 2,
What am I doing
because that's what
wrong?
it's named. This is probably the single hardest update to place on the entire list. If you weren't around for it, essentially the Caves and Cliffs update was split into 2 parts. As I said earlier, some elements snuck into other updates, but for the sake of this argument, it was split into 2. 1.17 would add all of the new blocks, mobs, items, and so on, whereas 1.18 would add all of the new cave and mountain generation. So for that reason, the only new item in the is the other side music disc, which is a banger, but obviously wouldn't carry the update this high. We have to pretty much solely rank this based on the new world generation. Now, if it was just adding a biome or two, this would be really low, but the Caves and Cliffs generation changes were legitimately game-changing. Caves are so much more expansive now and actually fun to explore, and that's pretty important considering caves are such a big part of the game. I didn't hate the old caves, but these new ones genuinely put what we had before. Not to mention actually getting cave biomes like the Lush and Dripstone caves. That's on top of this update changing the world height to go down to Y-64 and down to Y319. Plus, all of the new mountain biomes made the overworld generation much more exciting as well, though caves definitely got the biggest benefit of the two in my opinion. So while there weren't really any new features, the new world generation is 100% big enough to bring this update quite high on the list. Really, it's just a shame that 1.17 and 1.18 had to be separate. If they were combined, that would have easily been one of the top 2 features on the list. And then 1.9, the combat.
Sure. So far, I've lost 2 seconds in this run total, and one of them is in this fight.
However, this
sigh. Not great.
While the systems are similar, I do definitely prefer the others. Having great sets of blocks and extremely useful new systems for survival mode, I think 1.12
Really only carried by the freaking skip.
Weird for me to place because I remembered not loving this update when it was released. Not that it was bad, it just felt like a bit of a...
Let's see how this run will die to Missimism.
The reason I think I didn't like it was because this added the woodland mansions, which are certainly cool, but they're a bit too rare and not that useful. They were the only place to get totems in this update though, so that is definitely worth noting. Raids weren't in the game yet, so if you wanted to fight Vindicators, Abodes, and Vexes, you had to come here. While I didn't love the mansions, the other changes in this update were pretty massive. Llamas were also added and, okay, I mean, they're not that exciting. The real big one starts with the Observer. This is one of the most useful things ever added to the game, as it's able to detect block updates in front of its face. Yes, you could detect this before Observers were added, but that required a bit of a complex setup. Observers simplified it so much that it quickly became one of the most used redstone components in the entire game. Look up almost any redstone tutorial, and about 80% of the time, an Observer is going to be included somewhere. Additionally, as I mentioned in the 1.9 segment, shulker boxes were added to the game, which are incredibly useful if there are more items at once. With how many items are in Minecraft now and how big people like to build, having a portable chest is a huge feature. This is also the update that made the Elytra insanely powerful by letting it work with fireworks. This completely changed the late game of Minecraft as people actually had to set up farms for fireworks. I know a lot of people don't like how good the Elytra is, but... As for some smaller stuff, 1.11 also brought over some Explorer maps, Iron Nuggets, the Curse enchantments, and the Sweeping Sword. So this may not have had the amount of users as some of the other updates this high, the quality and importance of some of them are too big. 8 1.7, the update that changed the world. Despite me always confusing this with 1.8, this did manage to place up quite a bit higher. The way this update changed the world was by adding in quite a few new biomes. Mesas were added in order to work with the newly added red sand, along with the terracotta from 1.6. Ice spikes were a new variation of the ice plains biome, which used the brand new and it's also just one of the biomes in my opinion. Several new biomes were added, which are the brand new flowers, and there were quite a bit, which helped outdoor decoration of the month. The new taiga variants were also thrown in, not only the new monster block, but also the new two-item taiga trees, which are super helpful to grow. But speaking of wood, the biggest biomes were definitely the savannah and the woods. That's because they each have their own brand new wood types, acacia and dark oak. And as I've said plenty of times, new wood is the most highlighted, especially when that new wood is dark oak, one of my favorites of the game to this very day. That's not even all the biomes this update added, so it's safe to say that there was a good amount of content in that regard. But even outside of new biome stuff, there was a good amount of other features added to the cloud. Stained glass came from the open cloud with a lot of new customization. Fishing also got a total overhaul this update, which actually made it pretty fun to do. You can not only enchant your fishing rod now with lure and luck in the sea, but you can even catch new fish like the salmon, pufferfish, and clownfish. That's on top of a ton of trash and treasure items too. So I think it's safe to say that this update was certainly bountiful. You know how I was supposed to say change the world? 7 1.13 This is the update that many consider to be the catalyst for the modern Minecraft revival. I could certainly understand that perspective because this is a legitimately very strong update to bring people back to the game. As the name suggests, this was heavily focused on actually making the oceans interesting. Before this, oceans were basically just water with nothing interesting. But now this update added several new biomes that actually gave some variety in the ocean. Plant life like kelp, seagrass, and coral were added to make the ocean surface much less plain. Structures like ocean ruins, shipwrecks, and buried treasure actually gave some encouragement for players to go into the water for exploration. Each of them gives pretty solid loot too, so it made the ocean not feel like a space. Significantly more water
That was just because of the cycle, I guess.
all of the fish we can get from fishing before into actual mobs. Turtles let us get the brand new turtle helmet to breathe underwater longer. Dolphins let us swim much faster, and the drowned added a hostile presence to the ocean, which could also reward the player with a trident. The Trident was a fantastic new weapon type to not only attack things from a long range, but also potentially move really fast through water, or get the power of lightning to more easily obtain the game's mob heads. If you wanted, you could even try and get a conduit, which sort of worked like a less powerful underwater beacon. The prismarine blocks were also given slabs and stairs now, which made them far more useful. Finally, for the notable water changes, bubble columns were a huge addition to make very simple and efficient elevators. But this update didn't stop at the ocean, it also gave us a lot of new wood blocks to play around with. Not only were the bark blocks finally made obtainable in survival after being in the game since 1.3.1, but strip variants were also added, being some of my favorite building blocks in the game. This also finally added buttons, pressure plates, and most importantly, trapdoor variants for all of the wood types. And in addition to all of that, this update also added the 22 1.13, the updated one. This update really showed just how powerful the focused update approach can be, and because it had so much room to work with in the oceans, I think this is without a doubt one of the game's best. 1.17, the Caves and Cliffs update, part 1. Like I mentioned with 1.18, this one tragically lost out on being higher due to only being half of its update. With that being said, it's still a very good half. Yes, we didn't get the new world generation yet, and we had to rely on some pretty scuffed methods to get most of the new blocks. But the new content here was incredible. We got 2 new ores in the form of amethyst and copper. Amethyst could definitely use a lot more uses, but I like tinted glass and the spyglass is fun. Copper was a little better, having a large variety of building blocks along with lightning rods, but it would take a bit before it became a really solid resource. Raw gold and iron were added here, which is very nice to have those 2 ores finally work. We got several blocks relating to the new caves and mountain biomes that came in 1.18, such as moss, azalea, dripleaf, dripstone, powdered snow, glowberries, spore blossoms, and more. New mobs are also introduced here like the goat, axolotl, and glow squid. Even though they do get a lot of use, being able to make item frames and signs glow is pretty useful. Speaking of glowing, candles are also added here, which are a nice way to add a tiny bit of color to builds. But for me, the stuff that really brought this update so high is this might just be my favorite family of blocks in the entire game. Not only am I a fan of darker colors, but the sheer variety of different textures that it has make it very versatile. Honestly, since this update dropped, I think about 80% of my builds have used some sort of use. So while this update was quite scuffed without the new generation, the high amounts of new build materials and cores are easily enough for me to still bring this up fairly high. 1.16, the Village and Pillage update. This following immediately after the update Aquatic truly set in how backwards it was after a few years of time. This gave a massive overhaul to villages in all different ways. All of the
Could be worse. Still not going for a fast cycle though. I just don't know how to do it. It's the problem.
To go with that, a ton of new stairs, slabs, and walls were added to the game, and it's safe to say that all of those are extremely useful building blocks. Grindstones were also an essential tool as they finally
hopefully this golds by at least 6 seconds, so if I don't get Susie death, it doesn't really matter.
Blast furnace, smoke,
sorry, early Susie death.
Were all also useful in their own ways. The fletching table. And that's not even touching
the fletching table.
Fantastic building blocks like these flowers, sign variations for all the wood, campfires, bells, sweet berries, and most importantly of all, lanterns. That is probably my absolute favorite lighting block in the game, so that was a great addition. And all of this is before even getting to the second half of the update with the pillagers. With them, they brought both outposts and the new raid events, which are a lot of fun. It's especially nice since the rewards are pretty worth it as you get better trades,
good enough.
and totems.
1917.
Crossbows were also a new weapon added.
Still need to improve like a ton, I think.
There was just so much in this update that it's hard to name everything.
Because what, Mario Man had a 1913? That's quite a big difference, I'd say. Well, it doesn't. None of this really matters unless I get a good Titan.
Here we have our most recent major release as of making this video. If we're going to go a while without anything new, at least they went out with a bang. This is sort of like the update Aquatic and Village and Pillage, where it mostly focuses on one thing, but this time it's about adding something completely new. The trial chambers are, in my opinion, the best implemented structure in the entire game. Its combat focus and large scale makes it incredibly unique from anything else. The best part about it is of course the fact that it's built around multiplayer, which is a struggle the game has faced for many years. Now the amount of mobs and loot you get correlates to the number of players inside, making them extremely fun to run through.
I almost considered doing the wrong one for some reason. Like I was like, maybe I should do the wrong one, but then at the last one I was like, no, don't do it, do not do it.
Since I always felt like that block was missing a lot of functionality. The Breeze and Bogged are two new mobs here, which help make the structure stand out. On top of the Breeze rewarding a player with wind charges. Those are a lot of fun to use with the brand new Space Weapon, which feels more different than while I wouldn't say it's the most useful weapon, it's probably the most fun weapon, which I think is also a very valuable trait. Several new potions, armor trims, pottery sherds, and banner patterns were also thrown into the chamber. But what might just be my favorite loot is, funnily enough, the music discs. Precipice and especially Creator are two of the best discs in the game. I'm very comfortable putting Creator at the number 1 spot. In addition to how fantastic the trial chambers are to go through, there were even a couple features added outside the chamber. 20 new paintings were added to the game, many of which are some of my favorites in the entire library. But the biggest extra addition is easily the Crafter, a brand new redstone component that lets us automatically craft things. I have found this extremely useful in storing items and just automating a lot of what we had to previously do by hand. So
remember, this is true pacifist. Or I guess I'll look at whatever the hell you want to call it. Or normal wingolades. I keep saying wingolades, I don't know why. Fuck me. Nope. Okay. Good. I just have to be careful on all the climbs, and we should be good. Let's see if I can get fast cycle. Probably not, but I could try. Interesting. Okay, you could no-hit that. Like, doing it fast. Wow, okay. That's actually really useful. Like, if you get fast cycle, you could just try your best to no-hit. What did I just say? Okay, it's fine. Okay, I only got hit once. Still fine. Yeah, not great. But it's fine.
fun without hoppers. Minecarts. 1.16, the Nether update. I think this will be a very uncontroversial #1 spot. This
Still no sub 25. Wow, okay.
And did it to the absolute max. Before this, the Nether was pretty barren. There were some mobs, quartz, and Nether fortresses, but it just felt very plain and undeveloped. This is what the game absolutely needed and went above and beyond for it. We now have 5 Nether fortresses, just the one we had before, and they're all extremely different from one another. They give us different color schemes, but also 2 brand new wood types. Granted, they may not be my favorite, but in the right build, they're certainly good to have. Salt rods and a place for magnitude to spawn
Wow, okay. Dude. That was such a good climb that I messed up at the very end. It doesn't really matter. Like, I'm going to save time here.
While I personally prefer Deep Slate nowadays, this is still undeniably a useful and good-looking set of blocks. I really just love how many different variations it was given. But to really round out this update and make it place strongly in the #1 spot, we have the introduction of Netherite. Diamonds had been the strongest resource in the game for over a decade at this point, so to have a new, most powerful resource was earth-shattering. I love how they implemented it too, as it still requires us to get diamond tools in order to upgrade them. Ancient debris was also extremely rare, which made us have to get creative with how we look for it. It always feels like a powerful accomplishment once you finally get all of your netherite gear. I also love how the block of netherite looks, even if I almost never get it in survival. And that's not even everything that was added here. There's still fantastic features like Rune portals and chains that I didn't even get to touch on. But I think it's easy to understand why this takes the top spot. Not only did it fully flesh out one of the game's 3 dimensions to make it actually feel complete, but they fundamentally changed how we have to play the game. We now have to not only explore this new nether to beat the game, but also find and use netherite if we want the best tools. For all these reasons, that I think 1.16 the Nether update is by far the best major update Minecraft has ever received. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you love the chicken spawn egg and hate me for putting 1.1 in the list? Let me know in the comments. This was a bit longer than I was expecting it to turn out, but I really couldn't stop myself from bringing up so many features that these updates added. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'm able to make it. I've got to thank my members, being Fred, Dynamite, D, Made CO2, Magnus Slot, Mario Master 101, Hippopotamus, Here, Castle, Bless Tyler, Johnny the Duck, Quiet Derby, Trainer
Nice.
Evans 2001, Kid Turks 15, Enchanted
I
Soul,
think Chris can take 2 hits before they die. I'm gonna assume it's 1 though.
Reiki, Ungenio TM, CW McCain, YouTube, Tesseract, Jameson Page,
Yeah.
popular additions in the Minecraft Trials update was the training space. It provided for a really combat with the mechanic. Upon its initial reveal, a lot of people were claiming it to be the best weapon to offer, and that got me thinking.
I forgot that I could have hit 1 earlier, but it's fine. Lost the, I'd say 5 frames for the extra defend. I'm not sure, but this is still very good. Like, very good. Besides the final parts of second sink, second climb.
Started thinking more. Well, if TNT counts, why not beds? They deal damage. If damage is the qualifier, why not anvils? They deal damage. And I started overthinking myself to the point of there being 33 items to rank today, and one of them were camp eventually, I settled on anything that has a way to damage something outside of a simple punch or supplication. I also decided not to include mobs like wolves on the list since that feels a bit outside of main weapon. Now, there may very well be something I missed because this game has a lot of items, but I guarantee it's something that'd be in last place anyway, so if you point it out in the comments, you're a massive nerd. Okay, but now that we got that all settled, this list will be judging the weapons based on how useful they are in a survival setting, not really PvP. On top of that, I'm considering how good they are as weapons. Obviously, stuff like the pickaxe is super useful in the fight of fighting, but that won't be a factor here. So with all that finally being said, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and let's jump into the list. Just like previous rankings, we've got ourselves a tier list. Beginning with our F tier, these are the blocks and items that are near useless in a combat setting. Heck, some would probably argue they don't even belong on a list like this. That's definitely the case for our first one, 33, the F. This is the unique property of not dealing any damage. When you throw it at a mob, it can deal knockback, so technically you could use it to push a mob into lava or something. But I'm sure this situation is basically never happened, so if you're going around throwing eggs at things for combat, I think you might just be a little insane. I guess you can sometimes get
31! Yo, that's epic. That's fucking cool.
Because this guy can actually hurt you. However, don't get too excited. This has a lot of problems with that. For starters, it doesn't really deal that much damage. A mob has got to be standing in that cactus for a long time for it to actually die. The cactus also has very strict conditions for where it can be placed. It can only be put on top of sand, and it can't be placed next to any other block. So basically, any mob could just walk around the cactus. And if all that wasn't enough, if you somehow manage to kill something with this, it'll just destroy whatever the mob drops. For some reason, throwing items into cactuses completely deletes them. So yeah, there is no reason to ever use this. 31, Sweet Berry Bush. Pretty much just a slightly better cactus. It also damages at a super slow rate, but it can be placed on more blocks and next to other berry bushes. It also won't destroy mob drops, so theoretically, it's slightly more helpful, unless you're trying to kill foxes, I guess. 30, Powdered Snow. This is some ups and downs compared to the last one. The main con is that powdered snow is way more annoying to use, as it is very rare, but not by that much. It also won't damage things instantly.
Pretty clean.
It can be trapped within it for a while. On the positive side, though, there are basically no restrictions on where this can be placed. Mobs also easily get stuck inside of it, so you can freeze them with the music effect. Honestly, not sure if this should be buried the better, but let's be real. For our final F tier entry, we have 29 of Snow. Now, if Brucey may be confused by this isn't right next to the egg. It too does 0 damage, and only definitely more useful than our F tiers, but it's mostly stuff that's either heavily useful in a farm setting, which was kind of hard to rank. Starting with an overshadowed item, 28, the Fire Charge. This is basically just the worst flint and steel in almost every way. Both of them place down fire, but you can only use the Fire Charge once, whereas the flint and steel has 65 per flint. The Fire Charge is also way more expensive to craft, requiring gunpowder, coal, and blaze powder compared to the simple iron ingot and flint. The only reason you could maybe want this is because if placed in a dispenser, it can get shot out. But I can't really see that making sense. Also, I want to mention that the dispenser itself in the rankings is mostly used to shoot out other weapons. Hopefully that's fair enough. 27, Fireworks. Now I want to stress that this entry is not including its usage across crossbows. This is purely talking about when you place down the firework by itself. Obviously, since the firework implies it's hard to use. However, if you set up a roof for a dispenser, then you can get the firework to hit something. It also does the most damage of anything we've seen so far, so under the right circumstances, this can be used. But if you're wanting to use fireworks as a weapon, you really should just get a crossbow. 26, the Conduit. I'll be honest, I had a real hard time placing this. I haven't used one of these guys in years, so I kind of forgot they can even deal damage. They're able to kill any hostile under.
You know, if I was playing Chapter 1 right now, I would be done. You know what? I would have had a PB or something like that. I don't know. Instead, I got mad again, because Chapter 1 is painful. I mean, every chapter is painful to speedrun in some way. Well, mainly because I'm unfortunately, a good runner. So I have to be like super optimal in every single thing that I do. Okay.
will actually do more damage than just punching with your fist. So if you have one of these and not a sword or an axe, then they're usable. Why you would have a hoe before either of those two, I have no idea. In terms of each tool's maximum DPS, or damage per second, an netherite hoe does 4 damage per second, and a netherite shovel does 4 damage per second. That actually did surprise me. I didn't realize the shovel did more damage than the pickaxe. Truth be told, I was going to put shovel on top of these 3 either way due to it being the cheapest, so that just made my wind charge.
Surely, that means I get good luck for the rest of this run, or something like that.
This is another pretty niche one, but if you have it in your inventory anyway, it can be helpful to push things off a cliff or just have it. It's also worth noting that it does deal half a heart of damage too, so it can kill something unlike the egg. I was planning on not including this at first, but now this can deal damage by itself. However, if you pillar up, you can use it to make a mob life. Also, the amount of mob flies stacks with each reel, so if you have multiple people reel in at once, the target will go flying. Can't really say this is too practical, but it's undeniably extremely fun, and I do it all the time. Also, I want to mention that while this isn't a PvP video, these are useful in a PvP setting due to its stunning people. I'm sure people will very nicely tell me how I'm wrong in the comments. 17.
Right, this is where I massively threw my PB, because I sucked ass at the climbs. To be fair, if anything.
In most cases, it'll be a one-hit kill, making this extremely powerful. Obviously, though, it's got quite a few downsides. First off, it's expensive, costing 3 points for iron skin, though it's an iron bar. The main issue is the fact that the handle is completely right after it falls, and it requires so much setup that the mob will probably just move out of the way by itself. Honestly, the handle probably deserves but 16 to 1. I'm sure many of you are confused with this.
Dude. What did I just say? Whatever. Fuck me. That was a terrible climb. I could have easily saved 3 seconds there, but I didn't. There we go. 6-7.
However, even with all that in mind, these are still good tools for taking out large.
Yeah, this is a. God, I wish I didn't throw in Titan Climb 1. It's fine.
Have to consider how the explosion is activated and what it takes to make the explosion. So now let's get to each of their individual ranges. 14, the TNT range. To make this, you obviously need both TNT and flame. In addition to that, though, you also need a rail of physics. Now, there are a few ways to activate this thing. You can drop it from height, have it roll over and activate a rail, or you can place it over the surface. Now, this does have the advantage of exploding faster than actual TNT. The more expensive reactors, so that you probably make it go
Really? That was awful. Whatever. I think I tried to go too fast. Yeah, this is not great. Yeah, that really could have been like a sub 41, maybe. Maybe? No. I think it would have been sub 41 if I had a good first half as well. Like first half of this run. Doesn't matter though, because it all comes down to this fucker. I'm not gonna make it through, am I? I'm gonna miss like 2 crits and then I'm gonna cry because all the time lost are just gone.
However, it takes several seconds after activation to actually explode. That does make it safer to use, but also harder to actually catch anything. One thing that does let us do though is create teams of cannons, and I've got to admit, they're pretty fun. Wait, oh no, I messed up the timing! And these are my favorite explosives for a few reasons. They're easily the cheapest. This requires 3 wool and 3
Not a great start.
When the Nether and End are extremely deadly, they're the go-to weapon for speedrunners fighting the dragon due to how much damage they deal. In fact, that's pretty much the main time I've seen any of these explosives be used in combat. Obviously, the explosives can be great outside of combat. Okay, now it's time for our main team. I think I know what actually is. One of my personal favorites, but I should play many more. First off, we have 9.
No damage so far though. I'll take it.
Lingering variants of mobs. I mean, I guess you could trick someone into trying a poison potion, but they don't. One big plus for potions too is that they're able to ignore armor. Another right zombie.
Good. Good start. Okay. I'm losing a turn, I think. Chris, please don't die. Dude. Yeah, I'm losing a turn. There's no way I'm not. As long as I don't miss a crit here. This Titan's terrible, all things considered, though. Yeah. That's so unfortunate, dude. I missed too many non-unleash crits. That's wild. That is genuinely wild, dude. Whatever, man.
With that being said, this is also stupid fun to use. I love the risk that comes with this, and it feels so satisfying to actually hit a mob on the way.
Sucks that I have to compare to this now. Everything was good up until third sanctuary, which is a real shame.
Nearby, but come on, you'd have to be absolutely miserable to not find this at least a little fun. So for that, I think the base definitely deserves straightforward for the most part, so I think they'll be pretty fast to explain. Starting up with 5, the lava. This is pretty much just an improved flint and steel. Not only do you not have to worry about durability, but any mod that touches will take far more damage than just touching fire and will stay on fire for longer. The damage buff is so
man,
that you can lava bucket by itself. The only downside is that
piss
lava
off.
bucket
Actually piss off. Like, what the fuck? What do you mean I missed too many?
While it does have a slower attack speed than a sword, it does more damage within a single hit. This is especially helpful in one-shotting things. I personally always use an axe on early game animals to avoid having to run around like an insane person. This one-shotting ability is also greatly helped by the fact that it can be enchanted with a few of the sword enchantments like sharpness and smite to boost its damage. Personally, what I like to do is have a sharpness
sigh.
The best part is that you're already going to have an axe in your inventory because of it being able to mine wood faster, so there's pretty much no downside in having
whatever, man.
Whatever, man. Difficult time placing this guy on the list.
Someday I'll get to 49.
A lot more than the average.
Someday I'll get world record. I don't know.
A melee weapon and a throwable weapon. Now, as a melee weapon, it's undeniably worse than the sword since it's only really a good melee weapon for underwater.
This is gonna be a 506.
This isn't bad. Now, you are basically required to have the loyalty skills because if you don't, yeah, it's gone forever. Once you do have loyalty, though, that turns this into a fantastic projectile, so you basically use it without any worry of it running out. Sure, it does have durability, but
surely I didn't lose too much time.
Also gets the benefit of having
but either way, this is a 506 possibly. If I save time, if I save at least 3 frames here, then this will be a 505. 5005, sorry.
It's slightly easier with it being added to vaults and trial chambers, but the chances are still super low. Otherwise, you need to find a drown with a trident, and then it only has an 11.5% chance to drop it if you're using looting 3. Essentially meaning that only 1 in every 188 drowns will drop a trident. Yeah, that's absurd, so most people probably don't want to go through that effort. That's why I decided to place it below the bow, even if I do use the trident more. Speaking of, 2, the bow. This is pretty simple. You can shoot out arrows and deal a lot of damage. You can also use tipped arrows for potion effects, but more often than not, just using normal arrows with a power enchantment is best. A power 5 bow will deal an insane 12.5 hearts on a full charge, which kills most things in the shooting. Bows are also pretty cheap. For a majority of players, the bow is easily the best weapon. But for the best weapon overall, I mean, come on, it has to be 1, the sword. Yeah, it's pretty basic. Sharpness 5 sword does 7.5 hearts, which is able to take out most mobs within 2 hits or so. Sure, not as much as a power 5 bow, but the sword is much faster and easier to use. That's also not considering one of the sword's best attributes, the looting enchantment. This is exclusive to the sword and will make anything you
It's a 506. I've lost way too much time in this overworld.
Video, that is extremely helpful to have to get more resources from the things you kill. You can also throw on fire aspect to not only deal more damage, but also cook some of those drops as well. So while it may have been a very predictable choice, I think the sword easily deserves the #1 spot as the best weapon in Minecraft. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you love suffocating people with gravel and hate me for not mentioning it? Let me know in the comments. I know the first half of this video is pretty wacky with all those niche cases, but I hope it made the video a bit more fun. I was genuinely not expecting this one to be as long as it was, so I gotta get back to editing. Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, this could have been a...
lot of things that make Minecraft such a...
Yeah, this could have been a... Actually, this could have been a sub 50, even without the whole Titan shenanigans stuff. But it's unfortunate that I threw that hard, I think. Whatever, man. Whatever, man. One day. One day. What are we doing?
some other way? If the answer is yes, then it more than likely will end up placing highly on the list. The second category
There we go.
is a bit more controversial, and that's just how much I like the mob in general based on their design, sounds, and mechanics. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that one, but I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. One last note before we start. I'm only going to be including mobs with spawn eggs, plus the Wither and Ender Dragon. Sorry to all 3 Illusioner fans out there. This video was recorded during the 1.19 update, so anything after that has not been added to the game yet, so they won't be here. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because I'd really like to make more Minecraft videos.
Where does that place me, actually? I'm assuming it doesn't really move me up any spots.
I think this might just be
Like, why would it? Nobody plays this category, unfortunately. I mean, I guess it's kind of ass, but I like this category. I really do. It's just that Titan is punishing sometimes, and Titan climbs are arguably worse. Or I guess maybe not as bad as hitting 28 crits, but like, eh.
Instead of just spawning at night, their spawning is based on if the player hasn't slept for the
Kasai.
more nights they don't sleep, the more phantoms will spawn. They're also very annoying to fight since they're also flying. So if you don't have a bow, they also can spawn pretty much anywhere as well, so if you're on the surface at night, there's pretty much no choice but to fight. Just sleep in bed to avoid them. Yeah, sure you can. No, unless you need to be out at night to collect resources. Oh, and also sleeping in a center spawn point.
Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Yeah, that's an issue. The desktop audio is fucked. It's fine. It's honestly really fine. I think I can just, I don't know. I think Deltarune is gonna play over twice, but I think I have. Yeah, I do.
However, I need to share a personal story. So as of late, I've been playing a lot of Skyblock with my friend, which you'll be seeing some footage of in the background. We needed to get a source of leather because doing piglin barters was a bit slower than what we needed. Sadly, the only way to get cows is to wait for them to randomly spawn, which we weren't able to do. However, we came up with the brilliant idea to make a wandering trader llama farm. So we set up a pen, bred them a bit, and the next day the babies were on. Yeah, so apparently, unless they're tamed or on a lead, wandering trader llamas can despawn like hostile llamas. That is so incredibly stupid. Yes, I know it said that they despawn with the wandering trader, but they could have at least made it so their offspring will also despawn. Chickens from chicken jockeys will also despawn, but if you breed them, their offspring will be perfectly fine. So what's the problem with these llamas? Yeah, I know this is an incredibly petty reason to bring mobs slow. But you have to see the next one. Simply breed defense. The next is summoned by the evoker in order to attack the player. One of the deadliest mobs in the game too because they wield swords. While that can make them seem annoying to deal with, they did have one thing that saved them. I personally think that Vex was one of the coolest looking mobs in the